Assalamu alaikum. What makes a leader truly worthy of obedience? How do we recognize legitimate authority in the face of competing claims? Can divine truth endure without a living connection to its source? And what happens when power is claimed without moral or spiritual legitimacy? In our fragmented world, where political slogans often replace genuine guidance and spiritual authority is blurred by ideology, the Qur'an reorients us with clarity and depth. يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. O you who believe, obey Allah and obey the Messenger and those vested with authority among you. This single verse, Ayat Ulil Amr, sits at the very heart of Islamic political theology and has profound implications for our understanding of divine leadership, obedience, and the preservation of truth. In this episode of Reflection, we will explore the structure and grammar of Qur'an's verse and its theological implications, how Tafsir al-Mīzān interprets Ulil Amr as infallible leaders, the epistemological need for divinely appointed authority, the link between Ghadir Khum and divine succession, philosophical and ontological reflections on guidance and spiritual authority, why the doctrine of Imamat is central to preserving the integrity of Islam. Let's begin by reflecting on the grammar and logic of divine command. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. O you who believe, obey Allah and obey the Messenger and those vested with authority among you. In al-Mīzān, ʿAllāmah Ṭabāṭabāʻī notes a subtle grammatical insight. The command obey, ati'u, is repeated for Allah and the Messenger, but not for Ulil Amr. This suggests that obedience to Ulil Amr is directly connected to obedience to the Prophet himself. Why is this significant? Because it signals that Ulil Amr are not merely political or scholarly figures. Their obedience must be of the same absolute kind as the Prophets. This naturally leads us to ask, could such authority be granted to fallible individuals? Reflect on this for a moment. What does the Quranic structure of obedience teach us about the nature of legitimate leadership? To command unconditional obedience is to imply impeccable moral and spiritual authority. al-amr Ṭabāṭabāʻī argues that it is theologically impossible for God to obligate obedience to fallible individuals. The Qur'an itself repeatedly condemns following unjust leaders. So we arrive at a necessary conclusion then. The Ulil Amr must be protected from error, ma'asum. Their guidance must be divinely sanctioned. Their role must be to continue the Prophet's mission with purity and precision. This is a cornerstone of Shīʿī theology. The Imams ﷺ are infallible guides appointed by God to carry forward the path of divine truth. Reflect on this for a second. Can obedience truly be righteous if the leader is susceptible to sin and misjudgment? After the Prophet's departure, who becomes the source of certainty? This is not merely a theological issue. It is epistemological. That is, how do we know what is right, authentic, and divinely intended? al-Amr teaches us that the Ulil Amr are the Prophet's epistemic heirs. They interpret the Qur'an without distortion, embody divine intent in their conduct, preserve the integrity of Islam through authentic knowledge. Shīʿī traditions hold that knowledge, like revelation, cannot be left to speculation or popular consensus. It must be carried through those protected by divine designation, the Ahl Bayt. A moment of reflection. If truth is sacred, shouldn't its transmission also be sacredly protected? To understand Ulil Amr, we must return to Ghadir. At Ghadir Khum, the Prophet declared, "For whoever I am his Mawla, Ali is his Mawla." This moment, witnessed by thousands, is not a political gesture. It is, as al-Mīzān affirms, a theological event, the transmission of divine authority. For Shīʿī Islam, this declaration confirms Imam Ali alayhi as the first Ulil Amr, divinely appointed and spiritually pure. For other traditions, the term is sometimes interpreted as referring to political rulers or scholars. But if all rulers and scholars are included, how can the Qur'an command unconditional obedience? History shows that many of them were unjust. Shīʿī thought offers a consistent answer. Only divinely guided infallible figures qualify. Reflect on this for a moment. Does historical leadership align with the Qur'an's standard of divinely sanctioned obedience? From an ontological perspective, the study of being, legitimate leadership is not a social contract, but a reflection of cosmic harmony. Allāmah Ṭabāṭabāʻī draws upon Islamic metaphysics to argue divine order governs both creation and guidance. Just as the sun gives light by divine command, so too do the imams guide by divine permission. Authority must flow from nearness to God, not from human structure of power. Teleologically, in terms of purpose, divine leadership helps perfect the soul, not just organize the state. It is spiritual scaffolding, not just political governance. As you reflect on this, in a cosmos governed by divine order, can leadership be arbitrary or merely man-made? The later half of the verse offers a vital principle. فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ إِن كُنتُمْ تُؤْمِنُونَ. If you dispute about something, refer it to Allah and the Messenger if you truly believe. This isn't just a legal instruction. It's a spiritual compass. True belief is measured by one's return to divine sources. In the absence of the Prophet, the question is, who represents that source? According to al-Mīzān, the Imams are the living embodiment of the Qur'an, the walking Tafsir as it were. Obedience to them is not submission to man. It is alignment with God's will. As we reflect on this, do our leaders today inspire spiritual trust and divine alignment, or merely demand conformity? The Shīʿī doctrine of Imamate is not peripheral. It is central to the Qur'anic worldview. Allāmah Ṭabāṭabāʻī links 459 to multiple verses. 33:33, the verse of purification. 5:55, the verse of wilayah. 5:3, the verse of completion. 15:9, the verse of preservation. Together, they form a comprehensive vision of divine leadership, pure, appointed, preserved, and continuous. Without imamate, Islam risks fragmentation, distortion, and spiritual drift. With it, the ummah retains its compass even across centuries. Think about this for a second. If God appointed prophets for guidance, would He leave the post-prophetic ummah without guardians? Why revisit this verse today? Because we live in an age of confusion. Charismatic influences, political exploitation of religion, and moral ambiguity are rampant. The Qur'an reminds us true leadership is not seized, it's appointed. The Imams of Ahl Bayt are not figures of the past. They are the axis of divine meaning, the heirs of revelation, and the standard by which all claims to leadership must be measured. A moment of reflection. In the noise of modern voices, are we tuned to the quiet authority of divine guidance? Finally, let's distill the key insights from this episode. The command to obey al-amr is absolute, implying their infallibility and divine appointment. Only the Imams of Ahl Bayt meet the theological and epistemological standards of al-amr. Obedience in Islam is never blind. It is rooted in recognition of divine authority and spiritual purity. Leadership in the Quranic vision reflects God's justice and mercy, not worldly politics. The Shīʿī doctrine of Imamate provides a coherent, consistent interpretation grounded in both scripture and reason. In our next episode of Reflection, we will explore the verse of purification 33:33. How does the Qur'an describe the Ahl Bayt? What is the theological and spiritual meaning of divine purification? And why is this verse so central to the concept of sinless, isma, and divine intimacy? So join me as we continue uncovering the structure of divine guidance in the Qur'an. If you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing so you can stay connected as we continue exploring the wisdom of the Qur'an through Tafsir al-Mīzān. Why not hit the notification bell so you don't miss future reflections? I do love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment or share your feedback. And if you found this meaningful, feel free to share it with others who might benefit from these insights. Until next week, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.